Hollyoaks' current storyline revolves around the issue of rape, where character Jackie McQueen accuses Gilly Roach of rape, and my character, Rhys Ashworth, is playing the audience's point of view and is stuck in the middle whether to believe his best mate or his girlfriend. Today I'm going to be talking to Paul Dockery, who's a practicing barrister, to find out how a rape accusation plays out in court. Hey Paul, I'm Andy, nice to meet you.
Hi, how do you do?
Very well, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to launch straight into the questions. In Hollyoaks, Rhys's best friend, Gilly, has been charged with rape. Can you give us the criminal law definition of the term rape?
In a trial, the prosecution has to prove three things to get a conviction. The first one is that it has to be shown that the defendant, that's Gilly in our case, that the defendant has intentionally penetrated with his penis the vagina, anus or the mouth of the complainant, Jackie. In this case, therefore, that he's intentionally penetrated with his penis the vagina of Jackie. The second element is that it has to be shown that Jackie did not consent to that penetration. And the third and final element is for the prosecution to show that Gilly did not have a reasonable belief that she was consenting.
My character is caught in the middle of this storyline, not knowing who to believe. Is it often the case in real life that these trials boil down to the complainant's word against the defendant's?
It is quite frequent, yes, that it's one person's word against the other.
Sure.
It's often useful if there's supporting evidence in support, obviously, of what a complainant may say.
So would that be forensics? Or...
It could be forensic, yeah. It could be medical evidence. It might be physical evidence. Ripped clothing, something of that sort.
Sure.
All that, plainly, is very helpful in support of the allegation made by the complainant. But often, such evidence doesn't exist, and the case relies upon the word of the complainant against the defendant, and that is quite frequent.
So what's the legal process once an allegation like this has been made about someone like Gilly?
Once the complainant makes the allegation, then probably from the point where the revelation is made to the police, that person would be taken for a medical examination. At the same time, the police investigation would begin, so the police would set about searching and questioning any witnesses, and the scenes of crime team would go to the location where the event occurred and take any necessary photographs, pick up exhibits, or take any samples for a forensic analysis. If then the identity and whereabouts of the defendant is known, then obviously the police will go to the defendant and make an arrest and take him back to the police station where he'll be detained. And once the police have sufficient information to question him, and he has the advantage, if he wishes, to speak to a solicitor about the allegation and any questions that may be coming, the police will then begin their interview or interviews with the defendant about the allegations.
If somebody in Gilly's situation is found guilty, what kind of detention sentence can they expect?
Well, the judges are given guidelines when it comes to sentencing in rape cases. Much depends on the circumstances of the offence and the consequences of the attack. But in Gilly's case, if he's convicted, then the judges are likely to be looking at a range of sentence of something between 4 and 8 years imprisonment. Whatever the sum chosen is that he should serve, he would serve half of that in prison, and the other half he would be released on licence.
During the Hollyoaks trial, Gilly's likely to be asked whether Jackie consented. Can you clarify the legal definition of consent for us?
Consent is defined as having the ability to make a choice and having the freedom and capacity to make that choice. There is no requirement that a complainant scream or shout or physically resist, scratch, fight, anything of that sort. The sole question is whether or not that consent is given from the complainant, who is able to give that consent and is willing to give that consent. And those are the real matters for the jury to focus on, particularly when there is a case where one of the essential questions is, did the complainant in this case consent to what is alleged to have taken place?
You don't just have to wait for the word no. There are many other ways that you know, the other person knows that it is not consensual.
Well, you've got to distinguish between two things. There's one, is the complainant consenting? Now, she can, if it's the she as in our case, she or he, she in our case can say, stop, I don't want this. That's as plain as you can get.
Sure. And
then from the defendant's viewpoint, does he have a reasonable belief that the complainant's consenting? Well, if the defendant hears, stop, I don't want this, that is answered as well.
What if a person in Jackie's position didn't actually say no, but used other words to imply it?
Well, where two people are having consensual sex, and one person then decides, no, I don't want this anymore, I want this to stop. Of course, they're perfectly entitled to say no at any stage and exercise that right, and the law expects the other person to respect that change of mind. But you'll remember at the beginning I said the prosecution have to show that the defendant did not have a reasonable belief that the complainant was consenting. So what becomes vital in such a scenario is that the complainant, who, in this case, Jackie, changes her mind, she has got to show in some way, by words, by actions, by gestures, directly or indirectly, but she has got to convey that to Gilly, because otherwise he won't know that the state of affairs has changed.
Sure.
He will have a reasonable belief that she is consenting.
If Jackie said no during intercourse and Gilly stopped, would it still be considered rape?
No. If there's consensual sex and then one party changes their mind and says, no, I want this to end, and the partner accepted that and stopped, then there'd be no offence at all, no sexual offence occurring at all, because the partner has done what the other person asked and brought the sex to an end.
All right, that's great, Paul. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Not at all, pleasure.
It's definitely going to help us, you know, go forward with the storyline. So thank you very much for agreeing to do this with us today. If you or someone you know has been affected by this storyline, then there are organisations out there to help you. Just visit e4.com/Hollyoaks and you'll be able to find help and support there.